For me, if you have a strong framework so the kids know sort of the boundaries and the limits in your classroom, it allows me to have more fun with the kids within those guidelines or that framework.
Well, I think it also allows the kids to know that that framework is there, and it gives them a sense of security and safety knowing what is expected of them.
Check your routines and procedures, because if those aren't in place first, you can't really do anything from that. That is the ground level. That's why it's so important.
If you don't have a procedure for it and if you don't practice it, like Libby said, what are the rules to the game? If you don't make up the rules of the game, the students will make up the rules, and you won't like how they play the game. So they're going to play the game our way.
As a teacher, your goal is to be the most productive, the most efficient with the time that you have. So if that includes, groupings and pairings and talking and interaction, that's great. Just know, give your kids the structured space to be productive.
I will treat you with respect so you know how to treat me. It's broad, but you could stop a kid and be like, I don't feel like you're treating me with respect right now, and I want us to treat each other with respect. And then if you feel free to do anything that doesn't cause a problem for anyone else. Very broad, but a lot of things fall under that.
And you find your own pretty quickly because your heart for your students, you want to build relationships. And so reflecting on your why, your goal, you will decide what works for you, and it may be very different from the person across the hall or down the hall from you. So it's thinking through, what are we doing? What movement, what transitions, what possible obstacles might be in the way that we can prevent or minimize through having those clear expectations and practicing them.
But along the lines of, before you even get to this point, I'm a planner. I make lists. And so I sit down and decide, okay, what do I need to have them know at the beginning of the year? And I actually sit down. I may even walk through the steps myself physically and make a list. Okay, step 1, this is what we need to do. Step 2, this is what I expect. Step 3, I want them to do this. So I make a list so that in my own mind, I know this is how I want it to look. And then I go over that with the kids. We talk about the steps and then model it, have them practice it. And let me tell you, we practice in my classroom. So
you got to exert a little bit of control where you can so that the kids know who's in control of this classroom. So she started that by at the door. Even if you haven't been lining your kids up at the door, you can start lining them up on day 36 of school. There's nothing that says you can't do that. You can put them in a seating chart at any point. You can put them in rows or however you want to do it. And it is never too late to introduce a slide on your TV that has some expectations, and you can go over them every day. You can write them on your whiteboard and go over them every day.
So along with what they said, for example, I'm doing my first set of stations with my students tomorrow. And I start off with going over what those expectations are and what it's going to look like. And then we do a couple of practice rounds. I may have them rotate every minute and have something fun for them to do at that station, just so they have gone through the motions. They know what they need to do. And then once we get into the content a little bit later, they know exactly what I expect of them.
Down. It's just like a gut feeling I get where whatever the thing is not something I can nip in the bud by going, hey Julie, I need, what's going on. It's starting to become disruptive or destructive to the entire group.
And my benchmark is 3 students. So if more than 3 students, it kind of depends on your class size, of course, are not following directions, that's going to be a reset, and we need to, reestablish what we're doing. If it's 1 or 2 here and there, again, it depends on class size, but just finding that breaking point of okay, nope, we need to stop, we need to shut down, let's back up and let's go back over it.
Yeah, because I constantly, if my students come into my classroom loudly, I think I'm the queen on our hall of making them come back out and line up, and we talk about expectations again. And there have been times I've had classes where we've gone in and out 3 times before we have it down pat.
It's really important to keep your calm tone, calm voice. Speak to the student how you would want them to speak back. So be respectful, be kind, give them opportunity to reflect, and just don't lose your cool. And that does take a lot of time. It really does. But ultimately, model how you want to be talked to. And I think if you have 1 or 2 of those students that are just consistently not following instructions, having that private conversation, that needs to be very strategic. have your class be working on something else, pull them to the side, whether that, if you have the ability to pull them out in the hallway, or maybe it's just a quick, pull to the side. Again, soft tone, be polite, be kind, give them grace.
But we have a little script for yourself. I forever had a script for conversations with students, but also like phone calls with parents, because that way I wouldn't get flustered. And if I was with a student in math, off the handle. But we had a list of questions we asked them that were like restorative discipline questions. You can find those online, or you could just make up your own list of questions. What is why do you think this is happening? What can I do to help you? Have a script for yourself as much as possible in those interactions, and eventually it becomes second nature, and you're able to have those conversations and stay calm.
As much as you can, as much as you find time in the day, go watch other people teach.
My biggest things I think that I've learned, especially over the last few years, is every day is a new day.
Yeah.
Every day is a new opportunity.
I agree. Also, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.